She started when she was 12 with her first food company, and she hasn't stopped since, running a multi-million-dollar company with over 15 restaurants in Lusaka, Zambia, a food processing company selling traditional Zambian food worldwide and having trained over 60,000, that's a 60, smallholder farmers to produce better quality and process in order to receive higher prices. We talk about why researchers should take a back seat and let farmers and entrepreneurs play the game now. And why the hand tools many farmers still use belong in a museum, and mechanization is the key, of course with great care. Why processing and preserving are the key to end hunger, and everything about nutrition. Traditional food versus imported food, and how she taught the urban people to reappreciate the often considered food for the poor, aka traditional nutrient-dense and tasty food. To supply all of this, she set up 2 factories and trained over 60,000 smallholder farmers and changed many of their lives. A true Zambian and Southern African powerhouse. Enjoy. This episode is part of the Regenerative African series, where we interview leading regenerative agroecological entrepreneurs across East Africa. It's a special collaboration with the Organic Guy podcast and supported by Rootical, a regenerative venture studio rooted in East Africa. This is the Investing in Regenerative Agriculture and Food podcast, where we learn more on how to put money to work to regenerate soil, people, local communities, and ecosystems, while making an appropriate and fair return.
Hello everyone, welcome to a special podcast episode from our collaborative podcast series that we're calling the African Regenerative Frontrunners. I'm your co-host, the Organic Guy from the Organic Guy podcast. And of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Kun, from the Investing in Regenerative Agriculture and Food podcast. So our goal for this African Regenerative Frontrunners is really to bring African regenerative voices into the global stage and into the rooms where the future of food is being decided. And today's guest is exactly the kind of a voice, because we are going all the way to Zambia to have a conversation with a woman who has spent nearly 4 decades transforming African food systems. She's an entrepreneur and a food systems innovator who has built multiple businesses, pioneered local food processing in Zambia, and she has trained over 20,000 smallholder farmers. I think this conversation is about what can become possible when African food systems are being built by Africans for Africa and for the world. Sylvia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate to find myself here. Thank you, Steve.
I would love to kick it off with a question we always like to ask, and this is many people have asked this question to you before, but maybe for the listeners that don't know your amazing story, we love to ask this question: why do you spend most of your waking hours, and probably in this case also non-waking hours, to think and act on the food system? What was the trigger to go and become active in a system and a profession that is definitely not easy? There are easier careers paths out there. Training 20,000 farmers, smallholder farmers, is not an easy feat, plus all the other things you've done, all the restaurants you've run, and food companies you've started, etc. But what was the original trigger to go into the food sector?
Thank you very much. I grew up in a family of 7 girls and 1 boy. And we were brought up in such a way that we believed in what we are as Africans. And especially in my case, I picked it up because each time that I was playing with the boys and girls, I saw those days that there was a lot of respect with what a boy has done than what a girl has done. So I wanted to prove a point to say even a woman can do something. So I did a lot of work for my parents just to prove a point to say girls are not useless. Sometimes I would just go in the field, I collect sticks, I'll come and make a table where the mother would be putting the plates whenever she washes them on the pots. And it will please me to see that I've done that, what a boy could have done. And also, one day, I also saw my mother. We had a funeral, and people were sleeping everywhere, including the kitchen. And when they were sleeping in the kitchen, she has to start now cooking from outside. So what I did after that funeral, I went and in the bush, I collected some sticks and also some blocks. I asked my sisters to help me to buy the blocks, which they did, and the cement. I dug the kitchen, a foundation. In short, I had started building a kitchen, and it took the village people actually to come, and they knelt down to plead with me to say, what is it that you have done that you have decided to build this? Are you telling us to say that there are no men in the village who can help? I told them that I just wanted to build. I just want to be, each time I look at the kitchen, I say, I'm the one who put it up, and I'm a girl. So it was things like that to make me happy whenever I see them, to a point whereby when I grew up, I started working and I opened up the restaurant. I started with the Western cuisines because that was the part of my career, and I really liked it so much. But as we went along, I saw that we were not feeding people with the right food. Then I started remembering what my mother used to prepare in the olden days. And I could remember sometimes pounding groundnuts with my mother, making those simple tasks. She taught me how to be proud whenever you are cooking, and to also have the sense of heritage. So all those things, when I put them together, I said, why can't I start giving people the real food and contribute to their lives than me giving them this Western cuisine with full of spices which are not even grown in our areas. All those ingredients are grown somewhere else on a different climate. So this is what prompted me actually to start the business. To divert, actually, by then I'd already started the business, but to divert, to start giving people the traditional food, which is highly nutritious.
And I have so many follow-up questions, but I will try to control myself to one. I read in a bit of prep that, so how was that switch from the Western diet you put on, or the Western menu you put on in the restaurant or restaurants, to a more traditional ones? Because I think you said somewhere, like the only thing urbanites or people in urban spaces need to learn, or they only need to be taught to reappreciate traditional food. And the only thing smallholders need to learn is to improve. And you've done a lot of that. But how difficult was it to make people in the city eat the traditional food, which was, I think, considered, or is still partly considered, to be the poor food, etc., which is in many other countries and places exactly the same. The best dishes usually are the poor food, and you don't get them in restaurants. How did you manage to convince people to eat that and appreciate that?
Very good question. What actually we did, we wanted first of all to find out what is the problem with the child growth from the urban areas and also from the rural areas. So what we did, myself and my husband, we conducted a research where we picked a 15-year-old boy from the urban areas. When you analyze the boy, even the just outlook, the boy would look as if he's about 15, but yet he's only about 15 years, but he would look 17. So we went to the village as well. We look at the same age, but the boy would look as if he's 11 years, and yet he's 15 years. So on that one, we proved our point to say there was something wrong, and we wanted to find out what is it that is wrong. So eventually we discovered that it was the food. The application of the food in the rural areas was natural, but the composition of the food, we've got a lot of food in abundance, but the consumption of that food was not knowing the direction. Because if it is cassava, you'll find that every day they just eat cassavas, and you understand the type of starch that is found in cassava. And if it is fish, it is fish, that kind of thing. Then we came back to town. We've looked at the kind of food which these children were exposed to, even those that go to school. It was this fast food. So that is where actually we picked our business to say we can stand in the middle and try to help both sides, the rural people and also the urban one. So we got the vegetables from the rural areas we wanted to buy, but we were told to say that we could not buy the food because it was taboo for them to sell us the vegetables. but they could just give us whatever we wanted. And of course, we opted for them to give us. They gave us a sorted of vegetables, which we came with in town. And one day we conducted a sensory tasting where we invited colleagues, about 100 of them. We provided snacks, this and that, and also we prepared that food, those vegetables, the way we got them. And we even also put some on the tables, the way we got them without picking, and we asked them to give us the comments. And when they ate, they told us the idea was good because we told them the reason why we wanted to do that. We wanted to fill up the gap so that even when we are out of the season, people should continue enjoying the vegetables that this country produces. So they liked the idea, but they said the vegetables are full of sand. And from the ones which we had put on the table, it has twigs and also with sand and so forth. So to us, it was very good, those comments. We knew that if we could work with the farmers, the rural farmers, we trained them how to dry the vegetables and also how to package them. Then we could sell these products within Zambia and beyond. And that is how we started. And in the rural areas, we found that they were keeping the vegetables in the leaves. They make like a big bowl. Then they put the vegetables inside. Outside, they put fiber, nicely done. And then they hook them in the kitchen where they were cooking. That is one way of preventing them from getting the attacks by weevils. So we knew that there was a lot of science and technology on that one, but we felt that we could do better than that because we couldn't sell those bowls in supermarkets. This is how we came up now. We branded our own packaging, and then we started training these same farmers how to dry the vegetables. They did it very well, but it's still more, even if you teach them to say, wash the vegetables, blanch them, then you dry them. We were making platforms made out of wood, and then we'll put the reed mat on top, then we put the vegetables and we put a net. But when the wind comes, it will come and it will seep through the net. Yeah, so even the cleaning, it will be like as if they didn't do anything. This is our, in fact, by then, we had attracted a lot of people who were buying, the Zambians in diaspora. So this is how I came up with another innovation of a solar dryer. I invented one that could only dry about 10 kgs. And when we took the vegetables to the lab for analysis, we took both the ones that were drying in the sun and also the one that we did on a solar dryer, that prototype solar dryer which we made. We found that the ones from a prototype solar dryer came out very well. And we retained a lot of nutrients than the ones that we were subjecting in the sun for so many days. And also we found that there was no sand. And the color, we retained the color of the vegetables, the one in the solar dryer, than the ones that were subjecting in the sun for so many days. And we found again that it was the one from the solar dryer was commercially viable than in the sun, because in the sun you only dry very few. But in the solar dryer, every after 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours, they dry, you remove, you put again some more, just like that. And they were hygienically done than when you do it in the sun. So this is how we adopted the solar dryers. Maybe to conclude the story about the solar dryers, we have made now so many and we have improved and we have commercialized them. We even make now bigger ones which can even dry up to 100 kgs at a go, 500 kgs at a go, and the biggest that we have made can dry up to 2,500 at a time.
Yeah. I can see that you did a lot of scientific research there, from just basically comparing what rural people are eating and urban people are eating. And I guess that one gave a lot of people confidence in if that they can see, yes, there's a huge difference between what my rural guy is eating and what the urban people are eating. If they can see that with their eyes, then I think they can be able to make a better decisions for themselves. So I'm thinking in terms of deciding on going.
In fact, Brian, before you come up with a new story, I didn't finish analyzing now the two boys, one from the urban areas and the other one from the rural areas. So what we normally do is, as we are training the farmers in the rural areas, we introduced the so many ways of preparation of food, considering the nutrition aspect of it. So far, we have trained more than 60,000 smallholder farmers in all the 10 provinces of Zambia, and also we have even crossed into Mozambique and Tanzania. So to a point whereby all these people that we have trained, where nutrition is concerned, actually we have really helped them. And we have even written a book just to try to help both the rural farmers, the rural people, as well as the urban people. We have written Zambian cookbook, the first Zambian cookbook since independence. And it has even been adopted now in the school curriculum, as well as in the colleges now. They are using our book, which we have done. It's only that, unfortunately, I couldn't share. I don't have the sharing properties. I could have shared with you the book that we did. So because of that, we have also helped. That is the thing which now made us to introduce the restaurant in the urban areas, where we are just promoting the consumption of traditional food. And we were given a platform by Zambia Daily Mail and the Times of Zambia to be writing the columns every week. We were writing, we pick up one product, we write what are the benefits of eating that traditional food that we have offered for that particular week. And then people with, even the sales actually for the newspapers went up because people were looking for those columns where we were educating people the importance of consuming the traditional food which God has given us. And also the national television also gave us a platform where once or twice in a week we were speaking about the importance of consuming the traditional food. And the last punch which really helped us actually to popularize the consumption of traditional food was the program which I made to do with the First Lady. I negotiated with the First Lady that you are the mother of the nation. Anything that you do, people will listen to you. And she accepted. And I went there with about 6 companies that we picked. One which makes cooking oil, the other one that sells fish, the other one in meat. Altogether, there were about 6 companies, including my company. So what we did in our kitchen, I removed all the things in our pantry and I put all the traditional foods which Sylvia normally sells. In fridges, we removed everything and we had put what the meat company, they normally sell, and also the poultry, just like that. So we were in the kitchen and we were just talking and the cameras were on us. They were recording. And she called the husband, who is the president, to say, honey, Mrs. Banda, that program which she was talking about, she's here. Please don't eat anything. And the president accepted to come. When we finished preparing the food, we set it on the table. I talked to the First Lady to serve in a traditional way when the president comes. And for sure, when the president came, he joined us on the table and he was very jovial. He sat, and I told the First Lady to pick on the traditional food which the president enjoys much. And we picked the forest okra. That is what we prepared. And when he came, we sat down. I was the happiest now to interview the president. I asked him, Mr. President, tell us, you seem to be enjoying this food. You are the president. You've got powers. You can just order food to come from Australia, from America, from anywhere, Morocco. But why is it that you are enjoying this food? He says, my dear, me, I'm a pure Zambian. You see, my mother used to prepare this type of food. When it is set on the table, I feel so happy because this food is nutritious. It's what it talks about it so nicely, and that is what I wanted. So after that, after interviewing the president, we ate the lunch together. Then the national television broadcasted that part for more than 26 weeks. So you could see from there, for the first time, from the time that I've been promoting Zambian food, we had to run out of the materials, the raw materials. People now were rushing to any shop where we're selling and even coming to us to say, no, we know that even the president said this thing is good. So it is things like that is what helped us, especially from the urban areas, to ensure that the information reaches them. And the other thing which also helped us to popularize the consumption of traditional food was during the COVID-19. The doctors actually were referring people to come to my place to come and buy the true indigenous food, if at all they want to recover quickly, which I can actually attest to that it really helped a lot of people. So these are the two examples which I thought I could give.
Yeah, and they are powerful examples as well. Because now, if I think one of the best evidence that you can provide someone is just to show them, hey, this is working and this is the impact that it has had. And I think that powerful example of the president coming in and having to test the food himself, that did touch a lot of people. Part of the podcast, we are discussing about regenerative agriculture. So I'm just wondering, like from a Zambian perspective, what would you say is the state of regenerative agriculture? And do most people in Zambia actually know it as regenerative agriculture, or is it like agroecology? How do most people refer to it?
Well, that's a very good question. Yes, I think I can say agroecology at the moment is taking the center stage. But a few in pockets here and there, they are still talking about this regenerative. Because, in fact, when you talk of agroecology, I was very much against myself, who works with the pool of farmers, to say, we really appreciate you when these our friends, the scientists, come up with certain terminologies. Let them be the terminologies which the farmers down there will be able to understand the meaning. So like I can say, in our context, regenerative agriculture means restoring soils, water systems, and biodiversity while respecting indigenous knowledge. It is not just a set of techniques. It is a philosophy of harmony with nature that is across Africa. And regeneration is happening in pockets, as I said earlier. It is uneven right now, I can say. We inspiring examples, yet scaling them require stronger policy support and cultural recognition. So with the absence of this, we still have a lot of work to do. But as I said, a number of farmers have started actually adopting the agroecology, and they are doing it because farmers are very easy people to change, especially when they are working with people like Silver Food Solutions. Because when we tell them that this is the way we want you to grow our products, they actually follow because they know that we are the off-taker of what they are going to grow. We don't just tell them and then we look the other way. We sign the MOU with them. And once they have done the way we told them to say, this is what we want, we are the market, they'll start supplying to us. This farming season, we bought quite a lot, though we had a partial drought the other year. But with the season which has just ended, we got quite a lot from the farmers because we demonstrated what exactly we wanted them to give us. And as a Silver, we are inelastic because some of the products which we get from the farmers, we process them, we sell them in all the mega supermarkets, and some of them we export them. So meaning that the farmers, when we say, they believe us and they trust us that definitely we are going to give them the market that they are looking for.
And in the term switching gears into more the financial side of things, offtake agreements are, I think, fundamental everywhere, and trust there as well, like actually following up. Farmers, I think, around the world have been treated not amazingly, to put it diplomatically and mildly. There's some other words that I'm not going to repeat here. Because many cases, people from the city or from elsewhere came, made all kinds of promises, pushed all kinds of systems and techniques, and then didn't follow up when a drought hit or when a flood hit, etc. You absolutely did not do that. You definitely stood by them. And if you want to give a message to, I think most of your companies, if I'm not mistaken, have been self-funded. I don't think you've raised capital from outside, maybe certain pieces. But if you talk to, for sure in your career, you have done that, to more financially minded people from the investor side. We see a lot of interest now in regenerative agriculture and food from the financial world, but also a lot of disconnect between, let's say, the financial cities in Lusaka, in London, in New York, in Johannesburg, etc., and the actual countryside. If there's a message you can plant in the minds of investors, if there's a seed you can plant, what would it be, that message?
You were talking about if at all I had something that I could change.
Yeah, if you talk to groups of more financially focused people that are investing maybe pension money, or investing their own wealth, what is your main message to them? What should they absolutely keep in mind when it comes to regeneration, when it comes to food systems, and what would be mistakes they can avoid, or things they should not listen to?
Okay. Yeah, I think a farmer is someone who is not a difficult person, because these farmers, most of them, they've got their own land, of which I just want to thank the government, because when we started working with these farmers, they had challenges because they were occupying the pieces of land which were not theirs, but the land belonged to the chiefs. Because in Zambia, most of the land that we have belongs to the chiefs. So what we did actually, together with other NGOs, is to fight on behalf of the farmers, so that the government could talk to the chiefs, so that these farmers could be given title deeds, of which most of the farmers right now, they are owning the land, sitting on titles, which is a security. Before, it was very difficult even for any funder to fund them, because today they'll give them the funding, then the chief receives the investors and will come and tell them, no, you have to move there now. This place has been given to an investor or something like that. So they'll be relocated. And for the ones who have given them the money, it will look like they have run away, but not anymore to most of them. They've got now the titles. So what I would encourage the funders or the investors, actually, if at all they were to work with these smallholder farmers, they are a very good group of people who normally listen. All they want, the farmer wants to start from gear 5 instead of gear 1. They want to find out, if they do that, what is it that you are going to do to them? They want, if you can link them to the market, that is what they want. And also, they have the capacity. In fact, 3/4 of these farmers that we have trained, they have never grown crops utilizing all their farms. They just grow a bit according to where their strength could take them. But if they had the money, they are willing actually to even grow bigger than the way they normally do all the time. But they don't have assurance, because even the banks, they look at them as a risk type of group where they cannot give the funding. The other thing is also on the farming implements. If at all I had a way, one thing I would recommend is to mechanize the farming, than the way these farmers just grow using the ancient tools like the hoes. Those are too old. They're supposed to be taken into the museum. And then, come up with mechanize the farming, because one can grow using the hoe for the whole period of farming season. It will be totally different than if at all one came with a tractor. 20 hectares, it will be done within 1 day. But that 20 hectares using the hoe, no way. They will just maybe do about 2 hectares, and that's it. And because of using these equipments which are too old, you find that they wear out themselves, the farmers. All the strength actually will go into the soil. Instead of them enjoying the farming, they just watch the tractor going here and there. So those are some of the things that I would recommend to these farmers. They've got the capital the heart to grow, but they do not have the means for sustainability and for expansion. So those are some of the things that I would really want to encourage those that are maybe willing to help the farmers, and also to change the policies so that let it also suit the farmers, but not just the investor that is coming to invest into farming, but the local farmers also should have proper policies for them to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite interesting to see you are very much at the forefront of promoting mechanization of agriculture. And it's a lot of things I see, at least people who are in the sustainable and agroecology world are not too keen to adopt such a technology.
Let them work let them work 2 hectares by hand for a few days, and then we'll see if people are interested in mechanization. I think a lot of these comments come from people that don't work the land themselves.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that is quite interesting when we are still in business, one of my favorite quotes that I saw by you is that you said it's time for researchers to take a back seat and sort of farmers and entrepreneurs to take the front seat. So can you explain what do you mean by that?
Yes, please. Just as I mentioned when I was talking about these investors or banks to help, yes, I remember. I'll come back to that. If I always say the researchers have done a lot of work, it's time now for them to take the back seat and watch their research work and allow the farmers to take the center stage. Sometimes I appreciate what our friends, the researchers, do. But I've never seen any research work that a researcher would tell me that they have concluded. It's once they start, they'll just change this way. And if at all you are to wait for them until they finish, you will never be in business. So it is time that whatever they have done, allow
That's
now.
such a good point.
Yes, allow now the players to come and play in their own way. They may not play exactly what the researchers have done because that is not enterprising. All they have to do is just to set the ball rolling. And when you set the ball rolling, you don't tell the players to say you have to play like this. Make sure that the ball just passes there and it passes until it is in the net. Never. And actually you come out, if at all you are a team, you go to play and you follow what the coach told you. Immediately you kick the ball, it has to go to the center. From the center, it has to go to that side, and there you score. It will never be like that. We have even seen, even me who is not a football fan, I see when they just say, when the whistle blows, the ball will be taken in any direction, but it is going to the goal. So same with our researchers. You have done your work. Now allow the people to play. Let them take now according to the way they understand. I think we are going to move and develop our continent, especially very fast. Than a situation right now, I can give an example of we appreciate whoever came up with the materials to use like fertilizers. Whenever farmers grow the maize or whatever they grow. In Zambia, up to today, we still have 2 types of fertilizers. Urea and the other one,
DAP.
what do they call it? The brown. D-compound. Yeah, D-compound and urea. Year in, year out. If whatever I've grown, it may not need D-compound. It may need a different type of fertilizer. But because our farmers are limited, whether they like it or not, they have to go and buy those. Why not come up with different types of fertilizers? This fertilizer is good for the sweet potatoes. This one is good for this. This one is good for that. But you put everyone in one pot, they have to go and get that one. So you find the yield is the same year in, year out, year in, year out. So that is, again, a very big challenge. So if people can actually understand from the enterprising point of view, personally, I would want three things to encourage 3 things to our would-be investors or our would-be supporters to the farmers. 1, train the farmer to understand what is it that he really needs, what kind of equipment that he needs, especially women and youth. These are with generative skills that you need to give them. 2, I need them to understand that when a farmer grows something, there is the need for the market. Our researchers will never tell you about the market. Will only be hammering on you, do this, you have to do that, this. But the market, a farmer once he grows, he quickly goes to the market to ensure that the products are sold. Build strong value chains for indigenous foods. And also linking rural producers to urban consumers. That is my dream. That is my wish. And also infrastructure. Support storage, support processing, and the distribution system. Reduce wastage and increase value. That is the reason why we came up with the solar dryers, is to reduce the wastage. Because in Zambia, we waste during post-harvest, we lost about 30 to 40%. Now you can imagine if with a solar dryer, we recover that is 30 to 40%. Where are we going to find ourselves as farmers? In fact, we have 2 factories trying to help the farmers also not to sell their products in raw form. Because the person who benefits, who enjoys, is the one who buys the raw products from them and go and process it. We are helping these farmers. If at all they come as a group, they can bring to us, actually, we process for them. First of all, I'm responsible for coming up with formulas. If I do a formula, maybe it's a cooperative, I will tell them to say, this formula that I've done for you, you should not make sure that you keep it, it is yours. No one should take it away from you. And we do contract packaging for them. They can go and sell it at a higher price than for them to keep on saying if their food in raw form. So if at all we could help our people, I tell you, Africa shall be developed.
And it's a logical follow-up question. We love to ask, what would you do if by any chance, and I'm not saying anybody should have this kind of concentrated wealth, I think there are many issues with that, but let's say it happens. Tomorrow morning, Sylvia, you wake up and you have $1 billion in your bank account and it needs to be put to work. Meaning, could be long-term, doesn't have to be the day after tomorrow, obviously. And I'm not looking for exact dollar amounts or investments amount, but I'm looking what would be and actually you gave a great list already, so I'm guessing you would go in that direction. But what would be the top priorities of your investment fund or your investment activities if you had a lot of financial resources suddenly concentrated in your hands?
Yeah, first of all, I have to think of, as I said, on education. When you have the resources and you are dealing with people who are not educated, you do not understand what you are looking for. All those resources will go into water. So training. Let the farmers understand what is it that we are looking from them. What are the standards that we are looking from them? Because if I'm working with farmers who are not educated, who do not know what they want, they will be giving me substandard products. And by the end of the day, it will be very difficult for me, no matter how much I try to process those, as long as they came as substandard, it cannot take me anywhere. I'll produce the product which is substandard. So training for me is a P1. Again, I will look at the market. If you have trained these farmers and they have started doing what I've told them to be doing, my market also should be expanded. I should not just be marking time at the same time, because I will be saturated with a lot of materials from them and I'll have nowhere to take it. And all that money which I got, it will go to waste. So I have to ensure that my market is expanded. Then I also expand the farmers' market as well. The third one is the infrastructure and innovation. I have to ensure that there are good road networks, and also we also ensure that we are processing. We have machinery, proper equipment, whereby even if a bigger order came, something like maybe school feeding, once I know that I've got bigger machines, I will know that we'll be able to execute the order within no time and we'll be able to distribute. This also coupled with the distribution channels. Where is it where we are going to distribute? We need a lot of transport, logistics, so that when an order is executed, we are not worried to say who is going to help us. We know very well to say that the logistics framework is in place and it will go there. I can give an example of sometimes the way we suffer. When we train the farmers, they go back to their homes and they go and apply what we have taught them and they grow exactly. But when it comes to the collection of the products, even when they call you to tell you to say the products are ready, when you go and check, you find that the roads are impassable. It becomes very difficult for us actually to work with those farmers. But they have grown according to the way you taught them. So road network is very important. I will ensure to see to it that people responsible for the roads, They put up the roads, or even feed the roads to help the farmers transport their goods to us. And the last one is also to ensure, align ourselves with the policymakers so that the policies for the farmers, they play the level playing field for both the farmers and the government and also the buyers. So I think my $1 billion will work very well if at all I could look into these few areas that I've talked about. Of course, including the storage systems. We need bulk storage, the silos, because a lot of farmers actually, they lose a lot of products because they don't have places where they can store their products. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a very comprehensive plan, because I think one of the things that people don't realize, especially from an African perspective, once you start a business, you realize there are so many things in that value chain that you need to build fast. So it's quite interesting for me to see how you go fast to building the basics, from the training to the roads, all these things, for you to build like a good foundation for your success and the future business endeavors. That's pretty good. I've seen that you have been in business since you were 12 years old, and that you've started a lot of business, a lot of successful businesses, I should say, in the area of sustainable farming. So I'm thinking, like, in terms of the fundamental, in terms of the basics, what do you think, what does it take for one to build a really successful business in the area of agriculture and sustainable farming?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a very good question. One is yourself. Believe in yourself. Do not allow anyone to analyze anything about you. You know yourself better. Two, know what you want to do. What is it that you want to achieve? And do not look back. Once you have started, don't look back. Discouragements will come there, but you should not be discouraged because you have already started. Then three, you should know your market. First of all, your product. What product? Am I going to become a farmer? Or am I going to become am I going to go into agribusiness? Or what is it that I want to do? But this time we are concentrating on agriculture. So you also need to have some knowledge about the area, the climate. What sort of climate do you have in your area, and so forth. Then the other thing is the market aspect. If at all I buy from the farmers, or if at all I grow, where am I going to sell? If I buy from the farmer, where am I going to sell? If at all I process, what kind of equipment do I need? Like in my case, we started with just supporting the farmers, but eventually we went into food processing and value addition because we wanted to complete the whole value chain so that we are responsible from farming up to the time that we sell our product. We own 100%, and it becomes very easy for you to grow because what we have been now doing is just the innovations within the framework which you have already put in place. So those are some of the things which I encourage people go into farming to say that do not be discouraged and do not apologize for anything good that you have done. If it does not please anyone, that is not your problem. Continue doing what you know best and reduce a number of friends that you have. Because some of the friends that you may have, they are not always good friends. All they are looking for is to discourage you to do this, to discourage you, but they are not even offering the solution. So people like that, quickly move away from them. You are better off having a lot of colleagues than having the best friends. You cannot, actually there is no best, I believe that there is no best friend. You can only have a best friend who is your husband or your wife. The others, I consider them to be colleagues. Then the other thing is the location where you are getting your products or where you are farming from. If you are buying the products, are you getting from the territorial markets or are you getting from the council set up markets? Or you are getting direct from the farmers? Because all these three places, you can get your products. But try to compare the prices from the council markets, from the territorial, or from the farmers. So in business, you have to calculate. Where you find that the prices are reasonable, that is where you should concentrate. The territorial markets are these markets which just start on their own, but because of the people around that place, they start going there, then the place just starts growing. In most cases, those are very good to satisfy the community that live there, but it is very difficult for you to do business from such places because prices are always inflated. And the last advice also I give is that when you start your business on the innovation, it doesn't die. Then when you start your business on a copycat syndrome, whether you like it or not, it will die. Because it's not your idea. You've just gotten it from someone who is doing it. But when you do it yourself, you always look for better innovations. And as you are doing like that, your business is going and it is growing. I've come to, yes, you were right to say you started business at the age of 12. Yes, I started business at the age of 12 and in the food business up to today. I'm still in the food business. To a point, I like the word food to a point whereby sometimes if you haven't read a certain letter which has got 2 zeros, I read it like food. Like when someone is saying good, I'll say it's food. So it is that kind of liking something. You have grown with it. You own it. You feel it is part and parcel of you. I've come to a point whereby when someone is cooking food in the kitchen, I'll walk there, I'll scoop the steam as it is cooking, and I'll be able to tell that there is no salt. I'll be able to tell to say a certain ingredient is more than the other. Why? Because I've grown with it. I can tell. And when I want to prove that to people, I say, there is no salt here. But you haven't tasted. I said, the steam has already told me that there is no salt. When they taste, they will prove me right to say, actually, you are right, there is no salt.
Amazing. And as a final question, and usually that leads to other final questions, so it's never really final, but we like to put our guests a bit in a bit of discomfort because they can only pick one thing. And this is question, what if you could change one thing in the food system, but only on agriculture, but only one thing, but it could be anything from better global consciousness to better flavor, to training farmers, to policy. We've heard all kinds of different answers to this question, but the rule is you can only change one thing. If you could change that overnight, if tomorrow morning we wake up and you have changed something, what would that be?
Mechanization. I have
any
to...
specific one?
I can,
like any specific, is it specific type, like it would be, or in general, let's stop the back-breaking work we've been
if
doing.
I had a way, what I would do, first of all, I will start with the Ministry of Agriculture to come up with a policy of anyone who is owning 10 hectares of land, try to help put it in the national budget that each one owning the 10 hectares of land should receive these, what do you call them, the irrigation sets, yes, so that to put up all the center pivots in the country. We are not running out of food throughout the year because they will be irrigating. And those things which I would suggest to put in the national budget, the farmers should understand that it is not free money. It is a soft loan that they have to pay. Once they have paid back, they will be given a period of time. That money will be used again to help another set of farmers again. Just like that, to a point whereby 10 years down the line, anyone who owns 10 hectares of land and above should have a center pivot. That way, I will ensure that we have sorted out poverty in our nation. And also, I talked about mechanization. What I would do is I will request, just as I said, I'm repeating, I will request for everyone, those that got the ancient tools, to surrender them, and we beef up our museum so that the young ones will be able to come and see that is what they used to use, not to continue them, to continue using them in farming. It has killed the farming. So I would come up with mechanization, things like tractors, zone the areas. If in this area there are about 50 people, we give them one tractor. Another 50 people, you give them one tractor, and so forth. So that each and every day the tractor will go to farm this piece of land just like that, just like that. So I think if at all I could do that and also come up with a proper road networks, I think I'll sit down and smile and say, we have developed our country.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a bold vision. I'm always wondering, in terms of, so far you've interacted with a lot of small-scale farmers, so said up to 60,000 small-scale farmers. Is there usually a story that always caught your eyes, in terms of a story that you saw from a farmer and you are so proud of yourself and some of the work that you are doing with small-scale farmers that you can share with us?
Yes. I remember some years back when we were training these same farmers, when we go to train them the first time, the ones who were bringing the water, who were drawing the water for us to demonstrate to the farmers how to wash the vegetables, to blanch them, the ones who were collecting the firewood, they were children. When you ask them, they will tell you, no, unfortunately the children will say, but today is a school going a day. Why is it that the children are here with us? They tell you, no, they don't go to school. You ask why? Says, no, we don't have money to pay for their school fees. You feel like crying. You look at the children, there are so many. And when you teach them now like that, you go away, they supply you, they start now harvesting and supply you with the products and they are paid. When you come and visit, because if there is one thing that Silver Food Solutions is very good at, is the tracer system. We follow the farmers that we have trained to go and find out how they are faring. And now they'll start telling you the stories. To say, before you came, you remember the ones who were bringing the firewood were children. Now, today you came, we are the ones, we the elderly people, we are the ones who are bringing the firewood because our children are now back into school. You feel so nice. I remember one story this woman told me also, that she took me to her home. Come and see. Before you started training us and buy from us, I used to sleep on the floor with my husband. Now, we bought a bed. Look, here is a bed and a mattress. We are able now to sleep on a bed. Oh my goodness, such stories. Another one told me, no, you remember when you came to our village? I was a sad person because my husband had run away from home to say that we had no food. He had another woman in another village. When he heard now that we are doing this program with you and we are paid, my husband is back and we are now together looking after our children. So it's such nice stories that you really feel like crying. And in fact, there is even a program that was done a documentary done by a Canadian filmmaker. I've got a documentary where they went and actually did the interviews. It's full of interviews, short stories about these farmers that we normally work with and so forth. It's wonderful. And it even earned me a first prize. I won the first prize worldwide, actually. It's things like that you feel that there is an impact that you have made in people's lives. Yeah. So there are many stories, many. I was even thinking that probably I could sit down and document all these stories. There are so many. Yeah, and that is what prompted me to write even the Zambian cookbook, because I had collected a lot of stories, a lot of recipes, and I didn't know what to do with them. Then I sat down and said, hey, why can't I put it into a book? So that is how I wrote the Zambian cookbook, which I talked about, that it is now extensively being used in Zambia. Yeah.
I think I have just one last question for Sylvia. I'll be mistaken if I don't ask this, because now you are a mother, a wife, you have accomplished a lot. You've dined with presidents, you've started successful businesses. So if there is like young women, or like generally just a young person listening to you and they have this desire to go into the food system, what advice could you give to them, or what would you tell them?
Yes, you have rightly said it that first of all, I appreciate that I've been recognized by 3 previous presidents in their tenure of offices of the kind of work which I've done for this nation, and especially for creating market for the farmers, and also for economically empowering the smallholder farmers, especially the women and the youths. So if at all I had a way of encouraging the young farmers, my first advice, which is very strong, is that if you want to become what you want to become, a millionaire, there is money in the soil. And there are very few people who have discovered that money in the soil. There is a lot of money in the soil, especially in Africa, especially Zambia, my country. I don't know other countries. We get riches from the forest if you're a farmer. Sometimes you may not even be a farmer. You just walk into the field in the bush with a basket, without anything, an empty basket. You go there during the rainy season. By the time you come back, it is full of fruits, it is full of mushrooms, it is full of everything which you didn't even grow yourself. God has just given you. Expose them on top of the soil. You can just go and collect and sell, make lots and lots of money. Other countries, they suffer to get the riches because they have to dig to find the oil down. But some countries, on top of the land, you find them. So my word of encouragement to those that are looking down upon farming is that there is a lot of money in the soil. Go ahead and get it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Perfect way to wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this discussion. I even forgot that it was an interview. I'm just talking.
That's what we try to do. Thank you so much for coming here, for all the work you've done and taking time out of your, for sure, very busy schedule to come and share your story here with us.
Thank you so much, and good day.
Wow, what a story. I mean, such a successful entrepreneur in the food and hospitality space that then starts to train and process and at a scale that I think many can only dream of, and then keeps being there with energy, with integrity, with focus. It's just fascinating, and so lucky to have had her here with us for an hour. And I'm just really curious what you thought of this. How does this trigger you? How does this not trigger, that's negative. What triggers it in you positively? How do you come back after listening to Sylvia for an hour and to think about traditional food versus, let's say, Western food or imported food? And of course, the notion, a lot of places actually where traditional food is quote unquote poor, and how we get around it. How do we make that cool and sexy and interesting? Because it is, and that doesn't mean it should be frozen in time, which we also discussed in the interview and the conversation with Emmanuel on seeds. But it doesn't mean it's a very strong basis, and it probably has a lot more nutrients, and it probably has a lot more money that stays locally than importing a lot of stuff, obviously. But it needs to be packaged well, it needs to be preserved. The farmers need training in terms of washing and processing. Very simple things, but make a huge difference. We often forget how much low-hanging fruit there is to be taken care of before getting to the very high technological AI, robotics, and things like that, which are also interesting, don't get me wrong. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to hear you at the next one. And as always, please get in touch if you have any feedback, ideas, and elsewhere. Thank you. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. For show notes and links discussed, check out our website, investinginregenerativeagriculture.com/posts. If you like this episode, why not share it with a friend? And get in touch with us on social media, our website, or via the Spotify app, and tell us what you liked most. And give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your podcast player. That really helps us. Thanks again, and see you next time.